Okay, let's go over some additional information about settlers. Let's go ahead and left click on our city that's working on a settler right now. And we can see that 1 out of the 4 required production points has been put towards it. And we can see that it'll be done in 1 turn. And then if we look over here at our info, we see that we have a surplus of 5 production right now. So that's more than enough to, in fact, there'll even be an extra point that rolls over into whatever we choose to work on next. Now, you have to have the production to build them, but there's an additional requirement for settlers, and that is you have to have more than 1 citizen in a city. And we can tell that the city has 2 citizens by looking at the little number next to the city icon, or by looking at the little icon of the people up in the top left-hand corner. When you build a settler, it actually converts one of the citizens of that city into a settler unit, who then goes off to build a new city. So even if you finish the production on the settler, if the city does not yet have 2 citizens in it, it'll stall and just have to wait as production starts to stack up on it. So with that being said, that means that if we're trying to pump out as many settlers as possible, that a city needs to have good food and good production. If you want to pump out settlers as quick as possible, you will need 2 food and at least 2 production. I think that the most that you can build a settler is once every 2 turns, because I don't believe when you're going between 1 and 2 citizens, because I don't think that the turn that it grows to 2, that settler unit can be built. I think you have to wait for the following turn. So 2 food and 2 production will give you a settler as fast as possible. Now, the other interesting thing about settlers, well, actually, let's just go ahead and end the turn, and we can watch what happens here. You know what? Before we click turn done, here's one extra thing. Let's say that we had really low production, and we only had 1 net production. This is going to take another 3 turns to finish this settler. What we could do is we could come in here and click the buy button. Say, buy settlers for 6 gold, and then it'll say how much is in the treasury, and you can click yes, and it will immediately finish the building of that, and you won't have to wait for the production. That's the primary function of gold, is to do that. Now, the interesting thing about buying units or buildings to remember is that the cost that it takes to finish it is based on how many production points are left. And if there is at least 1 production point on something, the cost to buy it is halved. So if it's 20 to buy it, so in this example, I think that it would be approximately 12 gold to buy a settler with 0 on it. Regardless, having at least 1 point on something saves you so much money. Just buy the things with 1 gold on them, wait a turn for everything else to get at least 1 production point on it before you start buying it. But we don't need to buy because our production is nice and high. Okay, let's go ahead and click turn done. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's build this city. Now we can see this red outline here. That's where the city borders will be. And this is much better than our capital for food. And this is what you're looking for. The plains, the light green, the grassland, and this wheat makes the plains very, very fruitful. You have the oil for production. Go ahead and press B. We have another city. And let's go ahead and set this one to the settlers. Now you'll notice here that we only have one surplus food, and that's because we built on a forest, which is a low food tile. So this city is going to take 2 turns to grow to 2 citizens, whereas if I had built this on one of these higher food tiles, since the city automatically works that tile, and then with my citizen working the wheat, I would have had 2 surplus food. And that would have made it grow once every turn. But the reason that I built it there is because I wanted to be able to catch some of the. I wanted my city, my workable city area to catch all of this, and that's why I chose there. It will slow growth down a little bit in the short term, but I was willing to sacrifice that. Okay, so let's go over here and look what has happened over at Penguinica. Okay, so the settler was built. We see him here, but we see him twice. Why is that? What's the difference between supported and present units? Well, the units that are supported are not necessarily actually in the city. Every unit that exists, other than your starting units are unique in the fact that they don't have to be supported. However, all subsequent units will have to be supported by some city, and all of the units that the city supports will be listed here. Now, present units are the ones that are actually there. They both just so happen to coincide. The city that supports it is actually present in. Now, let's look at our food. We have 4 food, gross, and 1 net. Well, why would that be? We know that every citizen takes 2 food, and we currently have only 1 citizen, so we have 4 gross food. Our citizen should and is only taking 2, so we should have a net surplus of 2 food. But if we look right here at our settler unit that we're supporting, there's this little low resolution bundle of hay or wheat or something. And settlers, under the starting form of government despotism, settlers that are supported, which settlers cost their city that's supporting them 1 food constantly. So that's why you don't want settlers just sitting around, because they're slowing the growth of the city, because every turn they're requiring some of the city's food. So that's why you want to get them to where they're going as quick as possible and build them, because then their burden on the city's food disappears. I'm going to send him. I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to send him out east. Not exactly sure how I feel about that, but that's okay for now. And I'm going to take this worker and I'm going to start building a road out this way. Because as we continue, I'll take this guy and build a road. We're going to keep wanting to send settlers farther out, and roads allow your units to travel 3 times as far in 1 turn. And it allows them, if there's a road on difficult terrain, the terrain is ignored. It's like it's flat land. Go ahead and explore out a bit. Oh, wow, things look really nice over here. This is a lot of food. We're definitely going to want to get out here as quick as possible. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and stop here for this video.